Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. I want to thank you so much for dropping by today. There's just so many other things you could be doing, so many other channels you could be watching. We appreciate you spending a few minutes of time with us and going along on this journey of our life here in the Philippines. Today I want to talk about the reasons why I left the United States in order to seek out a new life, a new civilization, and boldly go where no one has gone before. Just a pun there, but to go out and move to the Philippines. And there's many reasons why I decided to make that move and why I decided to leave just as early as I possibly could as far as retirement goes. And it breaks down into four categories, okay? You have political reasons, professional reasons, physical reasons, and then social reasons why I decided to leave the U.S. and seek my fortune abroad. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the political reasons. That's just not what this channel's about, talking about politics and things like that. You can find that on many other channels, but I'll just leave it to say that I was born and raised in a traditional family. My mom and dad were married up until the day my dad passed away back in 2015. They were married for 55 years and very happily so. And we had a really nice childhood growing up in a small town in Florida, pretty traditional, cut right out of the Cleavers and the Donna Reed type mold. But you'd have to say that I have pretty conservative views. And given the direction that I felt the country was taken right near the end of my stay there, especially within the education system where I worked, I thought it was time to make an elegant exit while I could. Okay, so professionally, I had reached about as high as I wanted to reach in my given profession. I was a girls softball coach, high school level, varsity head coach. And I really enjoyed that. It was my passion. I coached softball for over 20 years, won a couple of state titles, won a many games, and just met some tremendous people along the way, both parents and players. And I wish them all well, and I'm proud of every one of them. And there were some very special people that I got to meet and get to know really well during that part of my life, and I'm grateful for that, and those are some of the best memories that I have. Teaching wise, I was a special education teacher. Also, I was a certified math teacher as well. And that was about as far as I wanted to go in the education system. I could see the way that it was headed in the public education system anyway, and I was not interested in becoming an administrator or an athletic director, and I just didn't have anything else to prove to myself, either coaching-wise or teaching-wise. And luckily, I was teaching in the state of Missouri, which had a really healthy retirement program and availed me the opportunity to retire at the age of 60 with full retirement benefits. And so I decided to take advantage of that. That was another reason why I wanted to leave the U.S. as quickly as possible. It got to the point where, and this leads into the third category of physical, where even though I really enjoyed my job and I looked forward to going to work every day, and I just loved the competition of competing in softball against all of the other schools, and because at Lebanon High School, where I finished out my career coaching, we were in the largest classification of softball, so we got to play against some of the best competition in the state of Missouri. And then the competition was quite fierce, and we were in a really good conference, the Ozark Conference, right in the central area of Missouri there, with some really good schools, and I got to know the other coaches in the conference as well. And I just didn't really feel that I had anything left to prove in that area. But physically, the coaching life was beginning to take a toll on my body. Because of the long hours, I could feel myself beginning to age quite rapidly, to put it bluntly. My hair loss was increased. The coloring of my hair, it just was turned almost white, and I was having problems sleeping. And I know it was due to the stress, and it wasn't stress from the school or from any administrators. I did feel stress from some of the parents that I dealt with, because if you've ever coached a sport, you know the hardest thing about coaching sports, especially at the high school level, is dealing with parents who all believe that their little daughter is the best softball player in the world. And of course, you can't blame them. I have 4 daughters, and I love them all dearly, and I understood where these parents were coming from. But as a coach, I was paid to make some pretty tough decisions, and I could only put 9 girls on the field at a time. And of course, that means there's going to be some girls that are not on the field, and that leaves that set of parents very unhappy. And the easiest person in the world to blame is the coach. So that's where most of my stress came from, along with, of course, the working in special ed. You deal with a lot of federal regulations that you have to be very careful to dot all your I's, cross all your T's. All of your paperwork has to be impeccable. And in this day and age, you have to be very, very careful about the way you interact with your students. And this is just all things that I was starting to get a little bit weary, and physically weary of doing this day in and day out. And again, I never once did I wake up during my teaching and coaching career where I dreaded going to work. Whereas back in my military days, I would frequently wake up and just totally dread going to work. I mean, I couldn't sleep at night because I knew that would be that much sooner that I had to wake up and go back to work. But I'm grateful that I found my passion of teaching and coaching, and where I could wake up every day eager to go to work, and I never dreaded it. It was always a joy to go. I taught summer school because I enjoyed it that much. And it was just, I really loved interacting with the students. But as I said, I had reached the pinnacle of that. There was just nothing left for me to prove, other than I really enjoyed helping the students, the special ed kids. I mean, nothing warms your heart more than seeing someone that struggles to learn and understand the way the world functions, to see them grow up and to develop the skills necessary that are going to allow them to survive when they get out of school, and knowing that you had just a small part maybe helping them do that. That's what made it all worthwhile. And believe it or not, that's really the only thing that I miss about the whole process. But again, having reached as high as I wanted to go in the profession, I really didn't see any reason to just stick around for 4, 5, 6, 7 more years just to earn a couple of $100 more a month in pension. It didn't make a lot of sense to me, because I knew that if I could eliminate that stress from my life, that I could very easily affect my health in a positive way. And that is, in fact, what has happened to me. My health has improved drastically since I left the United States and away from all of the negativity and divisiveness that you see when you look at the news, and just all of the bickering. And it just gets, I don't know, it was wearing on me. And here in the Philippines, if they don't have anything, what they do have is a sense of unity towards their country. They're very patriotic. As a culture, they vote. Other than the people that live in the most remote areas of the Philippines, voter turnout here is like 70 to 80%, sometimes greater, especially in a presidential election. Whereas in the States, you're lucky to get 15 to 20% turnout for the vote. People just don't seem to really care about that stuff anymore. You saw the deterioration of community, and I needed a change, and I started doing the research, and it was a no-brainer for me. As soon as I hit the threshold financially where I knew that I would be okay and I wouldn't struggle and I wouldn't have to worry financially, that was a done deal for me. I just started making my plans, and over the course of 6 to 8 months, I got myself ready, took care of all of the things that I needed to in the States, and then hopped on the plane and headed to Beverly, or the Philippines. And then finally, the last is the social category. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, I pretty much was not interested in having a dating relationship or any type of a personal relationship with women from the United States. I just have had a lot of bad experiences, and I just was really, being a traditional minded guy, I'm a little more, my needs are not very great. I don't have very many needs, but the needs that I do have don't include someone that wants to dominate the household and make the decisions and puts career above family. And now, please don't get me wrong, and I'm not lumping all of the women in the United States into this category, but it just seems to me, percentage-wise, that the women in the U.S. that are more interested in career than they are in family and community is way, way greater than you would find in a Southeast Asian community such as the Philippines. Here, the women are much more family-oriented. They don't have any issues whatsoever being a homemaker and staying at home and taking care of the household. They don't feel demeaned by doing that. They're actually happy. That's what makes them happy. And I can remember as a kid that those were the values that you found in the women in the United States as well. They were pretty content with being homemakers. Not all of them, you can never lump everyone into a single category, no matter what you're talking about. But I know that when I was a kid growing up, there were a lot more Cleaver and Donna Reed households than there were single parent households or kids that didn't have any parents and were in the foster system, because the foster system is completely overloaded in the United States today due to the breakdown in the American family. And that was just, that saddens me to say that. And believe it or not, it's a contributing factor to why we see so many kids in the special education department or entering the special education programs in public school, just because of the breakdown in the family unit. So, it really does sadden me, because that was always so important to me growing up, and I'm so very, very grateful to my wonderful mother and my dad. My dad was a great man to me, and he's gone now, and I miss him greatly. But I can tell you that he worked shift work at an electrical power plant. He was the chief engineer for the power plant that powered one half of Tallahassee, Florida, which is the capital city in Florida. And even though he worked shift work, I played 3 sports in high school: football, basketball, and baseball. And my dad never missed a single game that I ever played in from the time I was in the 7th grade until I graduated high school. I never knew how he did it. He would do anything he could to not miss a game. And we had several games that were so far away that my dad would be the only parent that we had at the game. But he never missed a single game. And that's just always stuck with me. And that just goes to show you how strong the bonding of the family was at that time. Anyway, it is what it is, and those are the reasons that I decided to leave the United States. Mainly because I feared for my health. Longevity runs in the males in my father's side of the family. My grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather all lived to be in their 90s. My father was 83, but yet it wasn't a physical ailment that took his life. It was Alzheimer's. And that's a horrible disease. If anybody's ever experienced that, you have my greatest sympathies, because I had to watch my dad just waste away. He was as strong as an ox physically, had a strong heart, strong cardiovascular system, but his brain just wasted away, and he passed away at the age of 83. And that was a really sad day for me, but I know that he would have lived well into his 90s had he not succumbed to that horrible disease. I mean, I don't think that Alzheimer's is genetic, because his dad and his grandfather and my great-great-grandfather, none of them suffered from Alzheimer's. They all lived well into their 90s. And I'm pretty sure that science would show that Alzheimer's is more of an environmental disease that's brought on by the toxic chemicals in our environment. And I'm just hoping that I was able to avoid taking in those toxic chemicals into my body over the years, and that my health conscious ways have in some way contributed to that. But of course, I have no idea what the future holds, and we can only wait and see. But I do try to live a pretty clean life here in the Philippines, and the air in Lipa City out in the suburbs is very, very clean, and you can smell that fresh air. It still rains quite a bit to wash everything away. There's no industrial pollution anywhere nearby, not any big industries. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. And I really, as always, appreciate your support. You're watching and subscribing. We're still waiting to get to 2,000 subscribers so we can have a live stream. We're really looking forward to doing that. I think tomorrow Jen and I are going to do a video that's entitled, "Who Are the Crumbs in the Philippines?" And we're going to talk about our origins, like childhood, and what led us to where we are today. It's quite an interesting journey on my side, I can tell you that. I'm going to let Jen tell her story in her own words, and you guys will get to know her a little bit more. And just be gentle with her, because she's very convinced that her English is not good enough to do these videos. And I try to tell her that her English is absolutely good. Just think about the amount of American people that cannot speak Tagalog. It's very, very hard. Gusto ako matuto Tagalog, pero sobra mahirap, which means I would like to learn to speak Tagalog, but it's very hard, and it is very hard. But just bear with her, because she does her best, but no one has any issues understanding what she's trying to say in English. I know I don't. And then we have another planned brownout or power outage here on Sunday, and we're going to go out and take a little drive in a direction that we've never driven before with our cameras, and see what we see up there. I think there's a big waterfall up that way. But anyway, guys, as always, please take care of yourselves. Stay happy, love your families, and we'll see you next time. Take care.